Welcome back, folks, to Let's Play Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney for the Nintendo DS. I am SamuraiT-X, and wow, oh wow, what a cliffhanger that was at the end of the previous episode. Detective Jake Marshall basically asks Lana to tell the truth about the SL-9 incident and was the evidence really real. And Lana just dropped the biggest bombshell saying, well, drastic crimes need drastic measures because that is the way it is. And even if it involved forging evidence. And with that, well, there was dead silence in the courtroom. And then Edgeworth, well, after Jake Marshall said what he said, like as in like he told us so, Edgeworth was pretty much, well, he was shell shocked. I think he didn't know. That reaction told me that he didn't know about the forging evidence for that case. Part of me just thinks that he didn't know. So probably that's where the rumors come from about Edgeworth. That whole forging evidence in that case pretty much just overshadowed Edgeworth completely, and I feel sorry for him just for that, to be honest. So the judge couldn't keep control of the crowd because the crowd went absolutely bonkers. They were going crazy. Like I would too, because like that statement Lana made, it just shows how corrupt the prosecutor's force really is. Really is corrupt up there. So anyway, we're gonna continue because well, I just want to investigate. That was just wow. That was one way to close it. And I want to know more about that SL-9 incident. So without further ado, I'm going to stop talking and let's commentate more about this case. February 24th, 3:12 p.m. Wright & Co. Law Offices. I'm so sorry, Mr. Wright. I'm sorry for what my sister said. Yeah. I still can't believe she admitted it, you know. It's just unbelievable, you know. It's like she had no shame when she said it as well, you know. She just said it just because, well, she just wanted to get that off her chest as well. So she knew she was gonna basically have the court go crazy, and she just did it. I didn't know. I never knew that the SL-9 incident was just another name for the Joe Darke Killings. Sounds like everyone's heard about these killings but me. Lana wanted Darke convicted so badly. That's why she used me. That's why she used what happened to me. What do you mean, what happened to you? It's all there in the file. Joe Darke's last victim was Prosecutor Neil Marshall. When he murdered Officer Marshall's brother, he left behind an incriminating piece of evidence. But what did you have to do with those killings, Emma? On the night Prosecutor Neil Marshall was murdered, Joe Darke tried to kill me. What? He tried to kill you? Officer Marshall's brother, Neil, was only trying to save me. So that means you... Yes, I was the witness in the Joe Darke trial. I didn't see that one coming. Let's be honest, neither did we, but her name's in that, so something must have been up there. But now she's told us what she really was, why she was involved in SL-9. Because, well, Joe Darke was pretty much going to kill her if it wasn't for Prosecutor Neil Marshall. It happened 2 years ago. It was right about this time of year too. There was a terrible thunderstorm that day, unusual for the season. I was alone in my sister's office. We were planning to eat dinner together once she finished her work. Then suddenly, this terrifying man came bursting into the office. Joe Darke. It seemed like he was running from someone. He pulled out a knife and screamed at me. I didn't know what was going on. Just then, Prosecutor Marshall showed up. Jake Marshall's brother. Joe Darke tried to take me hostage, but before he could, Mr. Marshall tackled him. Then... What happened? I'll never forget it. Lightning struck and then the lights went out. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning flashed outside the window, lighting up the office for an instant. What I saw then burned a permanent picture in my mind. I can see it now. A permanent picture? After the incident. I don't remember the moment when Darke stabbed Mr. Marshall. So you weren't able to testify about that? No, I was only asked about when I was attacked. That must be why she made up the crime. Made it up? You mean provided bogus evidence? The prosecutor's office wanted that guilty verdict so badly. Lana forged the evidence and Mr. Edgeworth used it. Edgeworth? Yes, but I'm sure he didn't know anything about it. His reaction said it all really. I doubt he did, to be honest. He couldn't have known he was being given false evidence. Even so, that's when it all started. The rumours about Mr. Edgeworth, I mean. It's all my fault. If I could have testified properly, none of this would have happened. So it's true, even though he may not have known it. Edgeworth really was involved in falsifying evidence. After that case ended, Lana was never the same, and I doubt Edgeworth was either. She became cold, like she is today. She must not have been able to face up to what she did, especially not to Emma. Permanent picture. What did you see in the instant that crime occurred? Darke knocked down Mr. Marshall and raised his knife. Neil Marshall was stabbed right in front of this poor girl? I don't remember what happened after that. Apparently I passed out. When I came to, Lana was cradling me in her arms. Poor Emma. You must have been through so much. You've been through so much. Sorry about that. I couldn't bring myself to testify about that incident. I tried, but the words just wouldn't come out. I drew a picture, but it wasn't any good. 2 years ago. You must have been 14. That's understandable. Once it was all over, I made up my mind. I decided that when I grew up, I'd become a scientific investigator. I want to be able to fight crime with my testimonies and find the evidence to make an airtight case. That way Lana would never have to forge any. I see. I think I'm finally starting to understand what makes Emma tick. Me too. But there's still something that bothers me about that crime. There's something that's puzzling me, Emma. What is it? You said you were in Lana's office at the time, right? That's right. Why then would a serial killer come running in there? Not only that, but he was being chased by a prosecutor? Oh, there's no mystery there. Joe Darke had been taken in for questioning that day. Taken in for questioning? You mean by the police? Of course. This happened at the police department. He tried to run away halfway through the interview and fled to my sister's office. But why did he run all the way over to your sister's office? Because the detective's office and questioning room are right across from the elevator. Across from the elevator? But Lana was the chief prosecutor, wasn't she? No, silly. Didn't I tell you? No, you didn't tell me anything about Lana's past. This is the first time I'm hearing of it. 2 years ago, Lana was a detective. Detective Lana Sky. Has a nice ring to it, actually. She was the best in the entire force. What? That's news to me. It's news to me too. After the Joe Darke case, she was transferred to the prosecutor's office and made chief prosecutor. Lana used to be a detective? I'd better have another talk with her. Yep, we better. That's gonna happen right now. To the detention center. February 24th, detention center. Visitors room. Lana. Oh wait, Lana. Mr. Wright, It seems I keep causing you trouble. Well, you have. Falsifying evidence. I didn't think you were the type. Criminals don't mind playing foul. Why should we? But Lana, if you're wrong, an innocent person might be found guilty. Believe me, I understand the risks. Lana, Emma told me about you. Oh? About how you were a detective 2 years ago, and how the SL-9 incident was the reason for your transfer to the prosecutor's office. That's right. Could you fill me in on the details, especially about that unusual change of jobs? I suppose you have the right to know, Mr. Wright. Yeah, I am your client, and besides, I've come this far, so you must tell me. A lot of revelations were uncovered at the trial today, not the least of which was the fact that this case is largely connected to another one 2 years ago. Evidence from that case was stolen. I expected as much. I know how obsessive Officer Marshall can be. That trial, it really wasn't fair, was it? I believed in you, Lana. I believed that no matter what happened to you, you'd always stick to the truth. It couldn't be helped, Emma. At that trial 2 years ago, I sold my soul. What? Well, all drama aside, the fact of the matter is, at 5:15 there was no murder at the police department. Tell me it's not true, Lana. What the witness, Miss Starr, said. About you stabbing Mr. Goodman with a knife. Lana, I don't understand. Why won't you tell us? Emma, this doesn't involve just me. I don't think I've ever seen Lana look so fazed with this before. Detective Lana Skye. It's true, I was a member of the police force 2 years ago. She was amazing. They still talk about all the cases she and Chief Gant cracked together. Chief Gant? Then he was the vice head of the criminal affairs, but he still worked the crime scenes. Damon Gant. He was everything I aspired to be. They were the best team ever. They solved crimes before the reports could even be filed. Emma really idolizes her big sister. Well, Lana does have a cool life. I mean, I would, if I was in her shoes. But now, you're chief prosecutor. What happened? I always planned on becoming a prosecutor. The reason I became a detective was to gain experience investigating crime scenes so you could later use that experience in court. Gant's help in the SL-9 case was critical in its resolution. After that, he became chief of police and arranged my transfer to the prosecutor's office. Maybe I should ask more about this investigation of theirs 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I was second in command of the detectives investigating Darke. Second in command? That means the chief detective was no doubt Damon Gant. Yes, Damon Gant and I shared the same office and the same investigations. They even had the same office? We led a team of the best detectives on the force. Detective Goodman, whose case it was, Jake Marshall and Angel Starr. It was the first time Marshall worked with his brother. He was quite gung-ho. Without a doubt, Joe Darke was the serial killer. We asked him to come in for questioning. We were desperate for evidence. That was when the last murder took place. When he tried to murder Emma. Prosecutor Marshall was trying to save me from Darke. You see, the first person who happened upon the scene of the crime was me. Huh? Now you tell us? Detective Gant and Prosecutor Marshall were the ones questioning Darke that day. The investigation was in its final stages when Darke must have panicked. He waited until Gant and Marshall let their guards down, then fled the room. From there he ran straight to the office shared by Damon Gant and myself. Detective Gant, sorry. That's where he found me. So you were the first person to run to the scene, Lana? It appears so. I was filing some papers while Gant and Marshall were questioning Darke. When I returned to my office, I saw 3 bodies on the floor and smelled blood. 3 bodies? Prosecutor Marshall, the victim, Emma, who had passed out, and the suspect, Joe Darke. During the struggle, it seemed Mr. Marshall struck a final blow before he died. Joe Darke had incurred a minor concussion and laid unconscious. What did you do? To be honest, I panicked. I picked up Emma, carried her out the room and just held her. Can't blame her. After all, her sister must have gone through. After that, I placed Darke under immediate arrest. Let me get this straight. You were all involved in the SL-9 incident? That's right. Quite a coincidence. I don't buy it. Well, what are you saying? There's no way everyone involved in this trial was involved in that incident. Just by chance. But that case was solved 2 years ago. At least one person went to the extremes because they didn't believe it was truly solved. Officer Marshall, yes, his actions came as a surprise to me as well. Ever since his brother died, he's changed completely. Well, anyone would change if their sibling died. Especially if you're close to them, anyone would change. I guess he wasn't convinced with that ruling against Joe Darke. Life doesn't end with the closing of a case. Everyone has to live the rest of their lives with their memories. That case just might not be over yet. Huh? Emma was assaulted by Darke at the police department, right? Yes, in the office that Damon, Gant and I shared. The office that Gant now occupies by himself. The chief's office. Maybe we should have a look at the chief's office, the site of the final SL-9 murder. Right. This is where the video is going to end, so when we come back, folks, we'll continue our investigation. Until then, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.